I'm gonna tell you right now. This is from her father. Your bunch of lying no good punks, and I know who it's coming from because I've traced it, and you've been reported to cyber police because I've traced it. Consequences will never be the same because I've traced it, and you've been reported to cyber police because I've traced it. You'll be arrested. End of conversation. Well, guess what? My daughter's not lying, and I'm not gonna put up with any of you people's crap. If you ain't got something nice to say about my daughter, then keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. And any more of your comments and put it on there will be caught and will be bound. You will have to deal with the police, cause you done goofed. Cause you done goofed. Because I've traced it, and you've been reported to cyber police because I've traced it. Consequences will never be the same because I've traced it, and you've been reported to cyber police because I've traced it. You'll be arrested. End of conversation.
Woo! I just sneezed. I feel better now.
The Air Force told Bob Matthews that a driver had arrived to pick him up at 8:50 p.m., just 5 minutes after his first phone call. The driver claimed that Matthews was nowhere in sight. Nearly 1 hour later, at 9:45, the Air Force Post received Matthews' second phone call. Yet, in Bob Matthews' mind, those two phone calls had been made less than 4 minutes apart.
I don't know where you were, but at 1 hour in front of the market, we sent a Jeep out there. The officer came back and we weren't there.
When Matthews arrived at the post, he was questioned extensively by Air Force personnel wearing civilian clothes.
They began to interrogate me about where I'd been the past hour. I stick to my story, I told them that I was in front of Boogers the whole time.
Matthews, you claim you saw 3 lights coming down from the sky. Is that correct?
They were coming from the sky down toward you.
They kept asking me, well, what kind of aircraft did you see, and what did they do? And this went on for a long time. And I thought it was still part of basic training or something. I thought this is what they do to new guys.
Let me ask you that. Have you been drinking before you got on the bus? Have you been drinking?
Continuous, and yet the half-hour trip turns out to be a 2-hour trip or whatever. And this is sometimes experienced in conjunction with a UFO sighting or something like the like, but not always.
Deborah, Erwin, and Marsha are among the thousands of real women living with metastatic breast cancer doing what they love and taking Ibrance. Ibrance, with an aromatase inhibitor, is for
Ibrance.
positive, HER2 negative
Ibrance.
cancer, is the first hormonal-based therapy.
There's that bottom on Twitch.
Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening chest pain, cough, or trouble breathing. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, including if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver, or kidney problems. Are nursing, pregnant, or planned to be, as it can harm an unborn baby, and about all medicines you take. For more information about side effects, talk to your doctor. These are real women taking Ibrance. Ask your doctor.
Ibrance.
If dogs look influencers, they probably review pepperoni treats like
Getting sir. Oh my gosh, get it.
Okay, easy. Pepperoni is close for $2.5.
Yes.
$20, $5. Treat the best to the best. Pepperoni.
The pepperoni, side of gravy.
Of course, ma'am.
If dogs were influencers, they'd probably review pepperoni treats like
All right. Give me time, sir. Oh, my goodness. Give me time.
smoky, beefy.
Pepperoni is slow cooked for 2.5 hours. Yeah.
Yes.
Complete dogs are dogs. Treat the best to the best. Pepperoni.
The pepperoni, side of gravy.
Of course, ma'am.
The 64, Hopkins, a well-known artist, experienced a UFO sighting along with several friends. He delved into the field and became a UFO expert.
I began getting phone calls from people and letters, and many of their sighting reports had pieces of missing time. And they could not account for why something that should have taken 15 minutes or 2 hours and a half, a drive in a car, which involved the sighting of the UFO. And we began looking into those cases and discovered one after another of these abduction cases. And eventually, together with psychologists who was helping me with this and other investigators, we put together many cases, and I finally wrote a book about it.
Over the past 10 years, Hopkins has written 2 books dealing with the phenomenon of missing time and abduction by aliens. He has received thousands of letters from people who believe they have experienced a missing time abduction. He has personally investigated more than 200 of them.
What was shocking to me was that it turned out to seem so incredibly common. This is extraordinarily widespread.
At the time Hopkins' books came out, Bob Matthews was wrestling with a secret that had haunted him for 30 years. A secret that had tormented him long before his experience at Lutra's Market on Cape Cod.
When I was a child, maybe 5 or 6, I just happened to wake up one night and I looked to my right in my bedroom and there was this figure standing there, a small figure, with a green glow to it. And I sat up in bed and I tried to scream and nothing came out of my mouth. I thought I had lost my hearing. I thought I had lost my voice. I didn't know what was going on. The next thing I knew, everything was black again, laying back down on the bed. And this thing, this ghost, I thought at the time when I was a kid, I called it a ghost, came over and sat down on my bed and pulled up my pajama top in. And I don't know what it did to my chest, but I knew it was doing something to my chest. I told my mother that it was a ghost, and she kept reassuring me that I was only having nightmares. If I went through all my life doubting my insanity, wondering whether or not these things had occurred.
Bob Matthews began to resolve his doubts in the winter of 1987.
I was in the kitchen looking for something to read, and on the shelf there in front of me, I saw this book with this creature on it, you know. And when I looked at the book, I said to myself, that's the thing that was in my room. I read the book, and I thought someone had stepped into my head and taken my innermost fears and put them in a book. It brought tears to my eyes, and I couldn't believe this was actually happening to someone else.
When Bob called me, it had that familiar ring of truth to me, as did the details of this case. He was quite convinced this was not a dream. He sounded troubled, curious, very, very stable.
After weeks of intensive interviews, Bud Hopkins put Bob Matthews under hypnosis to explore the details of Bob's childhood experiences. While he was hypnotized, Matthews began to recall what had happened to him that night outside Lutra's Market.
This evening, October 1st, 1966. Very relaxed. I want you to feel the movement. Feel that bus rolling along. Hypnosis is often very useful. Even the AMA's report of hypnosis has said that it's a very proper method of retrieving lost memories. So I connected myself with a psychiatrist and a couple of psychologists who were doing the hypnosis. And we began looking into a number of cases.
Something was really, really wrong because all of a sudden I got a very, very,
Bob Matthews' case is really difficult and very good missing time case because the fact that there is an indirect witness to his having been missing during a missing time period is very important.
well, I'm gonna call the base. I'm gonna call the base and tell them, you know, that there's no exchange happening here.
Bob's recollections are so vivid, he was able to return to Cape Cod, construct what he believes took place outside Intra's Market.
Under hypnosis, I observed in the sky 2 gray lights moving in this direction. They hovered over here, and the red one came at me so fast. They just got there so quick. If I had blinked my eye, I don't think I've ever seen it, but it got there so quick, you know. And it just momentarily hovers around the parking lot there. And I can see some light come from a crack. It's like a ramp opens down. And I can see a lot of light coming out of there. Right over here is about where the ramp was, right here. Part of it was still out in the road. I walked up to it, walked up the ramp, and I looked inside, and I saw 4 beings sitting over here on the left. There's 2 sitting on the right, and the place reminded me of a doctor's office. I mean, it was clinical. It looked clean. I remember sitting down on the table, sitting down on the bench, and I remember looking down and I saw that my shoes were off and my shirt was off. And they came over, they examined my chest. He looks at my chest, and the 2 of them, like they have a discussion with each other, and it's like
Every single case, we came out with a scenario which was exactly like the other scenarios. They're taken into a craft, a landed UFO, put on a table, clothes are removed. They seem to have no will or no ability to resist. They are then physically examined. The descriptions of the procedures, what follows what kinds of things happen are extremely similar. Samples are taken during that time, sometimes blood samples, often skin scrapings, and very often sperm and ova samples.
Cancer isn't me. It's something I treat. And the less time I spend treating my cancer, the better. This is me.
Discover an injectable immunotherapy, Opdivo Qvantig, for certain previously treated adults whose kidney cancer has spread. Unlike an infusion that takes 30 minutes, Opdivo Qvantig lets you receive treatment quickly in as little as 3 minutes. Opdivo Qvantig is an immunotherapy that works with your immune system to help fight cancer. Opdivo Qvantig can cause your immune system to harm healthy parts of your body during and after treatment. These problems can be severe and lead to death. See your doctor right away if you have a cough, chest pain, shortness of breath, irregular heartbeat, diarrhea, constipation, severe stomach pain, severe nausea or vomiting, dizziness, fainting, eye problems, extreme tiredness, changes in appetite, thirst or urine, rash, itching, confusion, memory problems, muscle pain or weakness, joint pain or fever. Report severe or persistent muscle or joint pain. Tell your doctor if you have myasthenia gravis or Guillain-Barré syndrome. Immune system problems include Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, or lupus. These are not all the possible side effects. Tell your doctor about all medical conditions, including immune or nervous system problems. If you haven't planned to have an organ or stem cell transplant or receive chest radiation, Opdivo Qvantig can harm your unborn baby.
A chance to live
Oh
longer.
shit, I'm still alive. I forgot I was alive. I still haven't gone out for a smoke yet. What up, one viewer on JDA? And a like on Facebook. Yeah, what up, y'all? Watching these unsolved mysteries.
getting of UFO occupants, but about 85% are extremely similar. The figures are little, between 3.5 and 12. Extremely slender. They have a grayish white skin. They have very large craniums. The eyes are often very, very black. The mouth is a slit, which never seems to move, and there's no ears. I'm the first one to admit how outrageous all of this is. The people who Manhattan also say, this just can't happen.
Sometimes I even think it's hard for people like us to believe it. They, but people that nothing happens with.
I'm as much a skeptic as anybody else. I mean, I wasn't born believing that UFOs existed. Now, of course, I mean, made up in minds now. It's ridiculous. I can't use those words, abducted by aliens. I just don't know what it was. I know that some people came and did some things to me, but where did they come from? I don't know.
I worked with, intensively with about 11 abductees, and I would say, to my mind, 7 of them seem to be valid in terms of the material that they present.
Bud Hopkins has organized support groups so that people who believe they are victims of missing time and alien abduction can compare their disturbing experiences.
The big question is, why me?
Yeah.
I think we all.
I was always skeptical. I thought it was complete hogwash, hocus pocus, abducted by aliens, except for the fact that there were these patients of mine who I knew to be very trustworthy, very honest, very uncrazy people. Just your garden variety Boston area folks. And they were reporting strange things.
How many experiences does each of you remember having or think you had?
I would say at least 10. I mean, 10 that I know of. And Bud and I have done hypnosis on 6 of them.
Christina Florence is a New York choreographer who feels she has had multiple experiences of missing time and alien abduction.
And I mean, I've had.
There's no question that these stories stretch the imagination. Perhaps, as the skeptics suggest, they could be the product of some kind of mass hallucination. But the people we interviewed sincerely believe what happened is real. When we return, we'll hear Christina Florence's story. Incredibly, her experiences and others like hers suggest that some sort of genetic experimentation is being conducted on the victims of missing time. The Mojave Desert, 1975. Christina Florence was 17 years old when she, her mother, and her older sister crossed the Mojave en route to San Francisco. Mexico, California, their car overheated, and they took the first exit off the highway.
You girls stay in the car. Ronald Ford does and lock the door. Yes.
Somewhere along the line, we got to this park.
I think we're old enough to handle this on our own. I have a problem with this engine. I can still get some more.
At that point, she just walked away. Where was she going? I don't know. But she said, stay in the car.
We're not supposed to stop from 6 to 5.
My sister got in the car and I heard her run around the back and oh my God, hang on real quick. And the next thing I remembered consciously was that we were lying on this blanket in the middle of
What up, whoever's watching?
as if we had a little nap.
I'm dying over here.
My mom was still not around and we woke up and was like, whoa, what happened? And then the next thing I remember, 3 of us are just driving like hell. We never talked about it until my sister just called me up one day and we sort of began to talk about it further and realized that we both had this very bizarre memory of this missing time thing. And she knew about Bud and she suggested I didn't.
But she had to sort of make up her courage to look into it, reluctant to do so.
All right, time to go out for that smoke.
Meeting some guy and doing research.
Oh, what's up, y'all? What's going on to the three people? Well, the two people watching, one of them's a bot. Is there more than one bot? Nope, only one bot on Twitch. And one viewer on Fearless Fred Fury's Facebook page. What up, whoever's watching there? One viewer on Juggalo Trauma Alert on YouTube. What's up? What's going on, people? Talk to me. This is my last smoke of the night. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm going here and get ready for bed. Yep. Dead Kelly. Dead Kelly, why do you cry? Something blah 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 blah, but you never will die. Dead Kelly. Dead Kelly. don't think anyone's chatting. No. Juicy. Why did Nightbot only say PayPal? Gotta get Cash App in there. I need them donations on Cash App. What up, 5 viewers? What's going on? Ah, shit.
In tandem with the new Global Jackson FC, they passed out flyers of Moses King's picture, and were unable to locate.
It's been the best lead so far, the only lead for us. We're successful.
For every mystery, there is someone, somewhere, who knows the truth. Perhaps that someone is watching. Perhaps it's you.
Your mental health is better by having uncontrollable body movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, can feel embarrassing.
I asked my doctor about treating my TD with
Ingrezza. Number one prescribed Ingrezza reduced TD movements by greater than 10%, with most seeing a response as early as 2 weeks. And you can keep taking those mental health meds.
Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden behavior, mood changes, or suicidal thoughts. Don't take Ingrezza if allergic. Serious side effects may include allergic reactions like sudden, potentially fatal swelling and hives, sleepiness, the most common side effect, and heart-rhythm problems. Know how Ingrezza affects you before operating a car or dangerous machinery. Report fever, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these might be life-threatening. Shaking, stiffness, drooling, and trouble with moving or balance may occur.
Taking control starts with asking your doctor about
Ingrezza.
If dogs were influencers, they'd probably review pepperoni treats like
Getting texture. Oh my gosh, getting tender.
smoking, beefy.
Pepperoni is slow cooked for 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Dogs are dogs. Treat the best to the best. Pepperoni.
The pepperoni, side of gravy.
Of course, man.
If dogs were influencers, they'd probably review pepperoni treats like
Getting texture. Oh my gosh, getting tender.
smoking, beefy.
Pepperoni is slow cooked for 2.5 hours. Yeah.
But thankfully, dogs are dogs. Treat the best to the best. Pepperoni.
The pepperoni, side of gravy.
Of course, man.
This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you're about to see is not a news broadcast.
A night of unsolved mysteries. The story of newlywed Shannon Davis, who died in a bike accident. Shannon's husband had purchased secret insurance policies totaling $330,000. $30,000. In Oklahoma, Eileen Conley died in a mysterious car crash. The Highway Patrol ruled it an accident. Her husband believed she was murdered. In 1928, Glenn and Bessie Hyde vanished in the Grand Canyon River. 50 years later, a secret skeleton was found. In Concord, California, housewife Donnie Cable, terrified of unfamiliar places, summoned the courage to take a train ride. She would never return. Our four mysteries tonight are connected by common threads. Unexplained circumstance, deceit, the suggestion of foul play. At the heart of each is a husband and a wife. These mysteries will be difficult to solve. The stakes are high when people's lives are involved. Perhaps you can help. We've recreated the events of each story in precise detail. Hope that somewhere, knows the truth. Join me. You may be able to help solve a mystery. On July 23rd, 1980, in a small Michigan farming community, Billy was Dave and Shannon Davis prepared to go for a sunset horseback ride. Within an hour, Shannon was dead. According to Dave, Shannon was not an experienced rider. When he reached the end, he lost control and fell off the horse. Dave's simple and plausible story was immediately accepted by the couple's family and friends.
I felt that Shannon's marriage was made in heaven. I really felt this. I had began to love David.
I described him probably to a lot of people as a man's man. He was an outdoor person, hunting, fishing. He just was very manly and very likable.
And she'd say, "Isn't he neat, Mom?" And I thought he was neat. I thought he would protect her from anything. I had no idea of what he was really like.
After Shannon's death, Bob and Lucille Moore began to discover that Dave Davis was not the man he seemed to be. They began to find clues to Dave's behavior, which led them to believe that their daughter's death was not an accident. Dave Davis has now disappeared. There's a warrant out for his arrest. But the Moores are afraid that their son-in-law may have gotten away with a perfect crime. At the hospital, Shannon was pronounced dead of the injuries caused by her fall. Minutes later, Shannon's parents were surprised and upset when Dave insisted that their daughter's body be cremated.
I said, "Can we take Shannon back to Toledo for burial?"
Please, let's take her back to Toledo. Let's take her home.
Is that what she wanted? I suppose our voices were getting a little bit loud because I don't believe in cremation, and Shannon didn't want that.
That's what she wanted.
I felt so strongly that if he was going to insist on it, I was going to go try and find a judge and get a temporary restraining order to stop him from doing it.
That night, Lucy couldn't sleep. She remembered that her husband Bob had caught Dave in a lie about life insurance.
Bob said David didn't have insurance with Shannon. He said no. And it just shot right through me. I remembered Shannon coming home from her honeymoon the very next day, saying David took on a large life insurance on me. That was the first line I picked up.
Three days later, Shannon was buried. Bob and Lucille Moore noticed that Dave seemed unmoved.
Once the body of Shannon was in order,
After the funeral, Shannon's parents found out that Dave had lived a life of deceit. He bragged that he'd been wounded in Vietnam. His own parents said he was never in the service.
All this was crowding in on me, and all I could think inside is, David, did you kill my daughter? And it just was there. I knew that he had murdered my daughter. I didn't know what to do with it. I felt ashamed. I just felt like I was going crazy inside.
2 days after the burial, 6 separate insurance companies contacted the funeral home, requesting copies of Shannon's death certificate. Her death left Dave Davis the beneficiary of $330,000. Bob Moore then discovered that Dave may have been involved in other insurance scams.
He burnt the farm down across the road and he had other fires and for the automotive. So just out to live on insurance.
Real yes.
Aaron, he was up to the
Fall from a horse. Indications of an unknown drug, however, were found in Shannon's body, but the medical report still ruled Shannon's death an accident. 3 months later,
Oh shit, I forgot I was live again.
exposed Dave's alleged insurance swindles. The case was reopened, and Dave moved to Florida.
Your mental health is better, but having uncontrollable body movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, can feel embarrassing.
I asked my doctor about treating my TD with
Ingrezza. #1 prescribed
Increasing.
reduced TD movements by greater than 10 times, with most seeing a response as early as 2 weeks. And you can keep taking those mental health meds.
Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden behavior, mood changes, or suicidal thoughts. Don't take Ingrezza if allergic. Serious side effects may include allergic reactions like sudden, potentially fatal swelling and hives, sleepiness, the most common side effect, and heart rhythm problems. Know how Ingrezza affects you before operating on dangerous machines.
Ingrezza.
Report fever, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these might be life-threatening. Shaking, stiffness, drooling, and trouble with moving or balance may occur. Taking control starts with asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza. I really want to ask my doctor about Ingrezza now. What up, 4 viewers? Well, 3. One person hanging tough on the Girls Fred Fury Facebook page. What's up? 2 people on JDA on YouTube.
Detective Don was assigned to the investigation.
The information that was contained in that newspaper article was phenomenal. I thought if this is even 50% accurate, we're on to something here.
Books contacted a toxicologist who had earlier found traces of the unknown drug in Shannon's body.
I explained to them that we had a very large number of chemicals that we were looking at. There's over 250,000 chemicals in common use. And we had searched for and ruled out maybe 1,000. And I said, what I need is some help.
But the medical record, this is it. You see the beacons right here.
And you see how nice and clean it is? Because it's so clean, that means that I think it's a drug. This is important to the case. It's got. He asked me, actually, for information on Davis's background. One of the things I told him was that he was a dirt farmer, and he had some large animals on the farm. Dr. Forney and I then discussed the idea of contacting veterans in the area that may have service at Dave Davis.
I'm Don Brooks from the State Police. I talked to you a little bit earlier.
I happened to ask 2 or 3 different vets in the area if they knew of any drugs in the system that they would use on large farms. And when I did so, one of the veterinaries I talked to provided me in the.
Dr. Forney tested that drug, an animal tranquilizer. It matched perfectly the sample taken from Shannon's body. Now Brooks needed to connect the drug to Dave Davis.
We were able to determine that several years ago, Dave Davis took part in a deer hunting camp at which members of the camp used this drug to hunt deer with bow and arrows.
Shannon was exhumed a second time. 2 injection marks were found, one on Shannon's shoulder and one on her wrist.
Don Brooks called and he said, bingo, they found Shannon is injected with something. And we're going to move now. We're going to get him.
On October 13th, 1981, a grand jury issued a first-degree murder warrant for Dave Davis. Detective Brooks believes that Dave Davis pushed or coaxed Shannon off her horse, wrestled her to the ground, then paralyzed her with a lethal tranquilizer. Brooks believes that Dave then struck her head on a rock so that the injuries would appear accidental.
I don't think there's any question that this is premeditated murder. I believe he married Shannon Davis to kill her and to profit.
I want to get him. And I want to see him locked up. And I want him to feel at all times that we're breathing right down his back. And we're going to go. They can't bring her back. But put him away before he gets into some of the girl. And he will. He will.
Update. And he will recognize Dave Davis as an acquaintance living in American Samoa, a small island in the South Pacific. Davis was arrested 9 days later by FBI agents. At the time of his arrest, Davis was living in this house with a 20-year-old Samoan wife. He told her that his first wife had died in a tragic accident. 3.5 weeks later, Davis was returned to Michigan to stand trial for murder.
Any comment on charges against you?
Didn't do it.
Police say you're.
They didn't do it. After only 2.5 hours of deliberation, Michigan jury convicted Dave Davis of first-degree murder. For Shannon's parents, the verdict brought an end to their 9-year struggle for justice. This is what we waited for. We got what we wanted. He's going to be locked up the rest of his life. That's what we wanted.
We weren't arrested for him missing her. So I said he gave us the death penalty. And now we're giving it to him.
Life sentence without parole.
Last September, we presented the mystery of George Marsh, a Kansas City laborer who died alone in a nursing home in 1982. He had no known heirs or relatives, but he left behind a legacy of $175,000. We hope that someone watching the broadcast might have known George Marsh or his heirs. There were a few clues: a birth certificate showing that George Marsh had changed his name from Joseph Zelenka, and some family photos, including this portrait of a young woman, inscribed "Your loving niece, Eleanor."
When I looked up and saw my senior high school picture on TV, I couldn't believe it. So then when he read "Your loving niece, Eleanor," that That's how it was signed. I was just stunned. I was just amazed. And then the very next picture was Uncle Joe, and I said, my gosh, that's Uncle Joe.
This woman, Eleanor Toller, is George Marshall's long-lost niece in the high school photo. The Zelenka family lives in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Joseph's brother Jim has been looking for Joe since 1931.
I never know. Never no idea why he kept away from the family. Because there's no hard feelings. We're all united, always, in everything.
The Zelenkas are currently waiting for a final judgment from the Public Administrator's Office in Kansas City. Jim and Eleanor plan to divide $175,000 among Joe's surviving relatives. But more importantly, they want to preserve Joe's memory. They intend to bring his body back to the family burial site.
The money, you don't mean as much as finding out where he's at. I just feel good all over to know that I located him and know where he's at, and I'd be able to bring his body back to the rest of his family.
In our next story, we'll meet a man who returned home to find his house empty, the bathtub full of water, a phone off the hook, and his wife missing.
The global vortex is creating a large storm. Just be safe getting home. This storm will be here through the night as well. The December Dream of Sales event giving offers on select models. Hold on to every memory this time of year and make it another December to remember. Because the greatest pleasure of the season is how it makes you feel. The December Dream of a Sales event giving offers on select models.
April 29th, 1986, 10:40 a.m. Water in rural Oklahoma notices an ominous plume of smoke rising from a nearby road. According to the authorities, 20 minutes later, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol arrived at the scene. They found a burning car dead in the deserted bridge. The heat was so intense, the car actually melted into the metal guardrail into which it had crashed.
When the highway patrol arrived, a body was inside the car at the time.
but there was futile exercise whatsoever to try to get to the occupants in the car due to the car had already burned so bad.
By the time the flames subsided, the body behind the wheel was burned beyond recognition. Skid marks indicated that the car's speed at impact was 50 to 60 miles per hour. To the highway patrol, it seemed like just another senseless accident. A computer check revealed the car belonged to Pat Conway, who lived with his family in Lawton, Oklahoma, 15 miles from the crash site. The next day, the victim was identified as Pat's wife of 33 years, Aileen. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol ruled Aileen Conway's death as a one-vehicle fatality accident. Within hours of the crash, a number of mysterious discrepancies emerged, which led Pat Conway to believe that his wife had in fact been the victim of foul play.
There's no doubt in my mind it was murder. And if I live to be 100 years old, I'll still be pushing to try to find the individual or possibly two individuals whoever was involved.
Pat first became suspicious when he returned home a few hours after the accident. The patio door was wide open. Aileen's purse, which she always carried with her, was sitting by an armchair. Her driver's license and glasses were still in it. An ironing board was set up and the iron had been left on. Water from a garden hose was running into the backyard swimming pool. And most significantly, in the master bathroom at the back of the house, the tub was still full of water. And the phone was off the hook.
The thing that really got my attention was the phone being off the hook, as though she'd attempted to make a phone call, possibly the police department. We have no way of knowing who. Between me and the kids, one would say one thing and one another, and we started putting it together, and right away we found out that was no accident at all.
Another disturbing detail nagged at Pat. What was Aileen doing out on that lonely country road? Neither of them had ever been in the area, and there was certainly no reason for Aileen to be there by herself. Nothing about his wife's death made sense. Pat contacted Ray Anderson at the district attorney's office.
The first impression that I had of this case, when I met Mr. Conway, was that of a spouse that was left alone and behind, not expecting the tragedy that happened and looking for an excuse or looking for some reason why this happened other than just being an accident. However, when you start looking at the extenuating and surrounding circumstances, the way that she left her house, then it leads you to believe that there is a possibility that there could be foul play. Brad, you want to take that side of the road and I'll take this side. It's kind of looking anything that's kind of familiar to me.
A few days later, Pat and Ray Anderson went to the crash site looking for clues, any clue.
Hey, did you go over and read it?
200 feet from the bridge, they found a church bulletin in the grass.
Yeah, this is the church building out of our car from the previous Sunday. It was on the dash of the car.
Are you sure that's in your car back?
Yeah, I'm positive. No doubt, that's where it was.
Aileen always drove with the windows rolled up and the air conditioning turned on. The bulletin could not have flown out of a moving car. The car would have had to have been stopped.
Someone else may have been with her, opened the door, set the accelerator, and slammed it into drive, hoping to run Mrs. Conway off into the creek and make it appear as though it was an accident.
As a result of Anderson's investigation, the Lawton District Attorney changed the official cause of death from accidental to unexplained.
Unexplained.
The DA then asked the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and the state fire marshal to evaluate the likelihood of arson.
What made me suspicious at first was when I saw that car
that was in the vehicle, this thing was completely burnt, destroyed. The bar, that gasoline or something like that was used in. Another thing that brought my curiosity up was the fact that the gas cap was missing. And most arson cases, and this is documented, of a vehicle, the gas cap was removed. And that was the case here.
Informal burn tests on dashboard and upholstery samples from a car similar to Aileen's suggest the inside of her car may have been doused with gasoline.
We took the material and we applied a blowtorch to it, set the material on fire, then removed the blowtorch and fire went out, which is consistent with a flame retardant type material. And then we took some gasoline and soaked the material, and the flame was completely destroyed. And the point being, without some type of accelerator, the fire would not burn that bad.
If Aileen Conway was murdered on the bridge that day, one question still remains. Why?
We don't really have an answer for what put her out there. A lot of theories floating around. Perhaps she interrupted a burglary. We backtracked a little bit into the neighborhood, and apparently there had been reports of burglaries in the weeks and months preceding this situation. So the possibility of an interrupted burglary is there.
I might as well go out for another cigarette.
Cancer isn't me. It's something I treat. And the less time I spend treating my cancer, the better. This is me.
Discover an injectable.
Well, cigar rat.
Opdivo for
That's cigars, not cigarettes.
Cancer to spread. Unlike an infusion that takes 30 minutes, Opdivo lets you receive treatment quickly in as little as 3 minutes. Opdivo is an immunotherapy that works with your immune system to help fight cancer. Opdivo can cause your immune system to harm healthy parts of your body during and after treatment. These problems can be severe and lead to death. See your doctor right away if you have a cough, chest pain, shortness of breath, irregular heartbeat, diarrhea, constipation, severe stomach pain, severe nausea or vomiting, dizziness, fainting, eye problems, extreme tiredness, change in appetite, thirst or urine, rash, itching, confusion, memory problems, muscle pain or weakness, joint pain or fever. Report severe or persistent muscle or joint pain. Tell your doctor if you have myasthenia gravis or Guillain-Barré syndrome. Immune system problems include Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. Not all possible side effects. Including immune or nervous system problems can happen. You'll see chest radiation.
The chance to live longer. The treatment, it's faster.
Opdivo See Opdivocuvantic.com for more information.
If you're an AFP report, 96% of respondents say that they still use spreadsheets for planning, even if they have a planning solution. We connect Excel models into an enterprise application, and we don't compromise any of the modeling functionality that Excel has to offer back from first years ago all the way to today, and all the advancements that Microsoft has doing within Microsoft.
Delaware paid leave is coming January 2026. That means employees like you can take time off to take care of what matters. See what situations are covered and if you're eligible at de.gov/paid leave.
There'll be because there'll be somebody that talks, there'll be somebody that admits their involvement in this. And of course, I'm a firm believer that that's what normally captures that criminals is their inability to keep their mouth shut.
No one knows exactly what happened to me. Bridge in Oklahoma that day. A year later, Conway is still searching for answers.
Even though you're discouraged, you keep pushing it every day. You constantly think about it and you look bad every night or get up in the morning, it's on your mind all the time. But somehow it needs to be solved. I'll never quit. Start trying to solve the case.
Next, the story of Glenn and Bessie Hart, who disappeared on a perilous rafting trip on the Colorado River. Both were soon lost until a woman claiming to be Bessie Hyde said she murdered her husband.
Mysterious legends.
The Colorado River cuts through the Grand Canyon, a curved stretch of water that is not considered the most dangerous in the world. In 1928, two newlyweds set out to navigate these treacherous whitewater rapids. They were never seen again. Henry Cole, the Grand Canyon photographer, was one of the last people to see them alive. 50 years later, when Cole died, authorities were surprised by a gruesome discovery in his boathouse on the rim of the canyon. Hidden in a canoe was a single human skeleton that appeared to have suffered a violent death. Whose bones were these, and how did the victim die?
One good option would be the individual met death by homicide. A second option would be suicide. It would be nice to know who this individual was. I mean, somebody is missing, somebody was out there, and there may be friends or relatives who would very much like to know who it is.
The disappearance of the honeymoon couple, the discovery of the human remains in the boathouse happened almost 50 years apart. Yet they were connected by an article in the Idaho newspaper and by the Arizona law authorities. They suggested that the bones might be those of the adventurous young river rafter Glenn Hyde. Tonight, we'll examine these mysteries of the Grand Canyon. What happened to Glenn Hyde and his bride Bessie? Is their disappearance connected to the secrets of the bones in the boathouse?
Oh shit.
Glenn and Bessie Hyde were married in Twin Falls, Idaho on April 10th, 1928. Glenn was 27, Bessie just 18 years old. That fall, they built a boat for a special honeymoon adventure. A trip down the Colorado River to California through the dangerous Grand Canyon. Glenn was a thrill seeker. This journey would mean instant notoriety.
Glenn wanted to make a record run through the Grand Canyon. He wanted to do it in a homemade boat. He wanted to do it with a new bride who had never been to rivers before, and he wanted to do it without life jackets. In the fall of the year, about 6 months after they were married, they were in Green River, Utah. An experienced riverman at Green River looked at the boat, and he thought it looked to him like a coffin. It was unlike anything that had run down in Colorado before.
Damn.
It took 26 days to get from Utah to the Bright Angel Trail, in the heart of the Grand Canyon. A new record. With the most dangerous stretch still ahead, they stopped to see Emery Cole, who had already twice navigated the Colorado River Rapids. Cole had arrived at the canyon in 1902 and set about documenting its grandeur. His stunning photographs and immense knowledge of the river soon made Emery Cole a legend.
He was very enthusiastic about his river trips and so proud of him. Everybody that was interested in the river at all years I was there first came and talked to Emery Cole.
No one has ever traveled the river from this
When the Hydes visited Cole, Bessie had grown tired of the river trip.
especially the idea of not taking my chance.
Emery tried to warn them of the certain dangers ahead. He asked them to stay with him through the winter and postpone their trip until the weather improved. He even offered the couple his own life jackets, but Glenn refused all Cole's offers.
There's really no reason to fear. Both Bessie and I are good, strong swimmers. Come on, Bessie, go out and fail.
Mr. Cole told me that he tried his best everywhere in the world to talk him out of going. He said, "You have no idea what you're getting into. I've been there and I know what's up." against you. Things like the huge. He said that I'm gonna do it without breaks.
Days later, Glenn and Bessie disappeared. Army aviators flew into the canyon and spotted the empty boat below Diamond Creek. Henry Kolb was asked to lead the search party to find the lost couple. Surprisingly, when he discovered the boat, it was undamaged.
The boat seemed to be intact. The clothes, food, Glenn's rifle was on board, a camera with exposed film. There's a very sketchy diary, but a diary that Bessie Hyde had been keeping was on board. They got everything there except for a beat. There's no sign of them.
The bodies of Glenn and Bessie Hyde were never recovered.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time.
Survival.
And the light to help me more of the light.
Caplyta.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone. Building on my progress without starting over, weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Helps me more of the light inside of me.
50 years later, the discovery of the bones in Kolb's boathouse fueled speculation. Could these be the remains of Glenn Hyde? And how are they connected to Henry Kolb?
Get them examined.
The authorities turned the skeleton over to Dr. Walter Burkby, an expert in the science of identifying human remains. He discovered that the bones are of a male Caucasian, 20 to 23 years of age, 6 feet tall with light brown hair. Dr. Burkby also discovered a bullet embedded in the skull.
What we found out from the bullet that was removed from the skull was that not only was this a .32 caliber projectile, it came from a revolver that began manufacturing about 1902.
2.1 centimeters.
The production date of the gun and clothing fragments found in the skeleton suggest that death occurred in the 1920s. During that time, only 2 people, Glenn and Bessie Hyde, are known to have disappeared in the Grand Canyon.
That's it. Somewhere along the line, heard a rumor to the effect that Henry Kolb could have
murdered Glenn Hyde in order that he could have, I guess, beautiful Bessie. It's so preposterous, and I just can't believe it. That he would off somebody and then keep the damn body.
You got verticality on these nerves. We're gonna have to rotate that more to the left.
Dr. Brookby hoped to put the rumors to rest. He superimposed a photograph of Glenn over the skull to precisely compare bone structure. This was the only way to determine if the skeleton was indeed Glenn Hyde's.
The skull is of a different shape than the face of Glenn Hyde. The eye orbits themselves are angled in a different direction than Glenn Hyde's. The cheeks are wider. Even the shape of the chin is wrong. Glenn Hyde's chin was somewhat rounded, as you can see in the photograph, whereas the chin of the submitted skull tends to be fairly squared off. So those features alone do not match. These remains, these bones that were submitted for analyses are not the remains of Glenn Hyde. Period. End of story.
End of conversation.
But the story, in fact, does go on. The mystery deepens. If the bones did not belong to Glenn Hyde, then what happened to Glenn and Bessie? The answer may lie in the eyewitness reports that claim Bessie Hyde is still alive and that she was seen back in the Grand Canyon, retracing the steps of her ill-fated honeymoon adventure 43 years after she disappeared. In 1971, an unknown woman took a 20-day rafting trip through the canyon. Geologist George Billingsley was also in the party.
She was a very serious person. She was always just watching the canyon and helping out a little bit around camp, all the time wanting to do something, and very happy, but quiet. Pretty much to herself.
Towards the end of the trip, they made camp at Diamond Creek.
Right around the corner there.
The same spot where Glenn and Bessie's boat had been found 4 decades earlier. That evening, a river guide told the legend of the missing couple, and the woman, matter-of-factly, revealed her true identity.
I'm Bessie Hyde.
She told us seriously enough to where we wasn't sure what else to say, but we all figured she was just making up her own story. But later on, we got thinking, now maybe she really was Betsy because the age was different. But she never smiled when she said what she said, as if she really knew.
He beat me up.
According to the woman, Glenn was obsessed with completing the trip, no matter how dangerous. When she tried to leave, her fight around it.
I got the full name of the woman and eventually contacted her back in Ohio. When I asked her about the Hydes and their disappearance, she denied everything. She said she hadn't told the story. She said she didn't know anybody named Hyde. She said she wasn't Bessie Hyde. My gut feeling, though, is that she was.
The mystery surrounding the story still remain unsolved. If the bones in Henry Cole's boathouse are not Glenn Hyde's, whose are they? And why did Cole keep them hidden in that canoe for so many years? The mysteries have survived the years, and for now, they remain part of the legend of the Grand Canyon. Next, the story of a woman trapped in her house by agoraphobia, the irrational fear of unknown people and places. Strangely, she has vanished. The Bay Area Rapid Transit System, known to commuters as the BART trains, that link San Francisco with the East Bay cities. On June 12, 1985, June Kaler drove his wife Dottie to the BART station in Pleasant Hill, California, 18 miles from Oakland. She entered the station and purchased a ticket, a simple task performed each day by millions. But this was a test of courage for Dottie Kaler. Dottie suffers from agoraphobia, an irrational, overwhelming fear of being in public places. Facing the unknown and the possibility of panic shadows every step. No one knows if Dottie overcame her fear that day and actually boarded the train. What is certain is that for 2.5 years, there has been no trace of Dottie Kaler.
Cancer isn't me. It's something I treat. And the less time I spend treating my cancer, the better. This is me.
Discover an injectable immunotherapy, Opdivo Qvantig, for certain previously treated adults whose kidney cancer has spread. Unlike an infusion that takes 30 minutes, Opdivo Qvantig lets you receive treatment quickly in as little as 3 minutes. Opdivo Qvantig is an immunotherapy that works with your immune system to help fight cancer. Opdivo Qvantig can cause your immune system to harm healthy parts of your body during and after treatment. These problems can be severe and lead to death. See your doctor right away if you have a cough, chest pain, shortness of breath, irregular heartbeat, diarrhea, constipation, severe stomach pain, severe nausea or vomiting, dizziness, fainting, eye problems, extreme tiredness, changes in appetite, thirst or urine, rash, itching, confusion, memory problems, muscle pain or weakness, joint pain or fever. Report severe or persistent muscle or joint pain. Tell your doctor if you have myasthenia gravis or Guillain-Barré syndrome. Immune system problems include Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, or lupus. These are not all the possible side effects. Tell your doctor about all medical conditions, including immune or nervous system problems. If you had a plan to have an organ or stem cell transplant or receive chest radiation, Opdivo Qvantig can harm your unborn baby.
A chance to live longer. And treatment that's faster.
Talk to your doctor about Opdivo Qvantig. See OpdivoQvantig.com for more information.
Well, after the first few days, I thought that she had left temporarily to simply make things inconvenient for me.
I think that Dottie could have disappeared to get even with her husband who had disappeared on her for half of their married life. She could have done that in the beginning. It's very hard to imagine her doing that for a great long period of time.
Immediately after she disappeared, Dottie's friends wondered why a woman so afraid of the unknown would leave behind everything she had and everyone she knew.
At first they thought she may have left to escape an unhappy marriage and start a new life in another city. But as the months and years elapsed, there was no word from Dottie. Holidays, birthdays, anniversaries went by. Now Dottie's friends and family are wondering, could she really have vanished voluntarily, or was her disappearance more sinister?
In 1973, Dottie married June Kaler, an entomologist with the National Forest Service. They settled in the Oakland suburb of Concord. But over the years, her home became a self-imposed prison.
Dottie had what doctors have called agoraphobia. She would stay inside most of the time. She couldn't even apply for a job, much less hold one down. It was a real problem.
Dottie and June's marriage deteriorated. Dottie was often home alone because June was working out of town over 50% of the time. Then in November of 1981, the relationship erupted in violence.
She told me that they got in an argument That's like to the point where he finally hit her with a board or something, and she received a wound in her head. And that she did grab some scissors and said, "You keep away from me," and protected herself.
And she was standing over top of me with those scissors. Jewel says that Dottie started the fight, staring at me and saying, "I'll kill you. You son of a, I'll kill you." And I grabbed her little typing stand and hit her with it. Dottie needed to pull together the threads of her disintegrating life. So in 1984, he joined a support group called Women in Transition.
The joy of whole room freshness. Glade plug-in scented oil fans.
All around you, you don't even know it.
It's the only freshener to use a continuous built-in fan.
It's just there in the air.
Unlike some fresheners that seem strong just around the outlet, the Glade fan continuously circulates fragrance throughout your whole room.
This shit'll blow your motherfucking mind. Magic everywhere in this bitch.
Plug-in scented oil fan from Glade. The
pure motherfucking magic
of fragrance.